A Museum of Dubious Splendors is a picture book in game form. It was developed by, and I'm gonna do my best here, Studio Oleomingus, a two-person game studio in India. The game is based on the writings of an Indian poet that the developers found in the archives of a museum. An abstract museum is built depicting the items from each of the stories that the player will read throughout the game. A Museum of Dubious Splendors is an interesting piece that has its own narrative hiding beneath the surface if you are willing to sit through a lot of reading. The gameplay is minimal and very simplistic. You pass through a door and are given two scenes of writing to read. Once you are done, you get to view a small museum exhibit based upon that story, and then you choose a new door and do it all over again. Different doors can lead you to different stories and art installations. There may be some indication of which door leads to which room, but it's hard for me to tell. It appears that doors send you to a consistent location, but all of the placards are written in what appears to be Hindi, so I cannot tell if they give you an indication of where to go. There is no interacting with the exhibits, just moving around and viewing the art. Each of the short stories that the player reads is written as though it were a legend. The events all lead to a character finding or creating a mythical artifact that was then procured or copied by the museum for display. However, exactly as one would expect from a dubiously splendor museum, none of the objects on display are mythical. They are all commonplace items. More specifically, the items, with the exception of maybe one room, are post-industrial consumer goods such as a tube of toothpaste or a box of matches. In relation to the stories in question, their appearance is often surprising and ironic. While I can see a layer of humor built into the analogies, there may be a deeper meaning behind the objects. The insertion of modern industrial products into often mythical Indian literature could be a metaphor for the mark that the British left on post-colonial India. Each of the stories has ties to Indian mythology and history that are undercut by industrial and globalized objects. The uniqueness of each narrative, along with its cultural significance, are all lost at the sight of such commonplace items. Colonial rule was damaging not only to the people that experienced it, but the cultures as well. Myths that were once so specifically Indian have been reduced to homogeneous consumer goods that have inserted themselves into cultural mythos. This is an interesting narrative about the struggles of post-colonial cultures that I thought was quite interesting, especially in how it was played out in the game. The scenes themselves are decent, if not sparse. It seems that each room was primarily made for the player's first impression of it. The scenes are built so that the player is given the most poignant view of each item in their first look at it. Beyond that, each scene is really just a room. The textures are mostly well made, although there are a few glitches that can be seen. Each vignette is powerful in relation to the story that accompanies it, but they are nothing special beyond that. In reality, that is all that the rooms really needed to do anyways. They serve their purpose. Overall, A Museum of Dubious Splendors is an interesting game about a lost Indian poet and post-colonial India. The game is divided into reading a short story and viewing a museum exhibit to accompany it. There is no gameplay beyond that, so expect to be in for a digital picture book. The combination of Indian mythology and industrial goods felt like a post-colonial critique that was rather interesting. Given that the studio's next venture, Under a Porcelain Sun, seems to have some colonial themes to it, I would be inclined to say that my post-colonial reading of this game could hold some weight. Regardless, A Museum of Dubious Splendors is a short, fun work that allows an insight into an Indian game market that rarely seems to come my way. It is free, so give it a shot. It is certainly not a waste of your time. With that, thanks for watching and, as always, enjoy the rest of your day.